that doesn't make any sense to me. Then why would you be using the test tool in the first place?
Well, I think Google might have given us a snarky clue with one of their recent announcements. So no score for helpful content, which kind of feeds off of my previous theory that it's an extraction. It's a phrase extraction component. So it's phrases that are supposedly helpful. So they're classifying and parsing. And so it's not a score thing. It's a presence of type of indicator.
Yeah. Right. So now we just got to figure out what phrases they're using.
Well, it's more like what kind of language. And so you can see them because when you find keywords where they pop, you can like totally parse them off of the search results. It's like a new type of variation. And so you could collect them all for a keyword and then go, wow, here's the full list of the phrases that they parsed and categorized. And then you can start looking at those.
And then every product review you do, you just put those in a hidden div, and
you can make the authoritative list that no product has, the product of legend. All right, let me say hello in the chat. Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us for the last episode of the year. We will be resuming after the new year. This is an AMA, even though we'll probably discuss a number of topics. So if you have any end of year questions, feel free to ask or suggest topics. We assume that everybody's going to want to talk about Chat GPT and what it means and where the world's going. So I figure I'll kick that off and say that the most interesting thing to me is that back before Google went big, back before Google's IPO, there was a bunch of uncertainty and lots of doubts and all these theories and all these kind of, weird feelings about what does this mean for our future type of thing. And it really gave everyone the willies when Google hit the scene. And it's been a long time since a new disruptive player hit the scene that gave everyone the willies that same way. So the thing to remember is, I remember everybody saying it, I wish I would have invested early. I wish I would have invested early. So I am leaning towards the fact that this technology or somebody using this capability might not be this company, might be the next one. Somebody's going to blow it up big in a big way. And so if you really regret not hopping on board the Google IPO or investing early once they were public, now's a good time to start your savings account so that you can make that move this time around. All right. So I think there will probably be a big player that everyone will say, I wish I would have hopped on earlier. And so I would plan for it. Maybe it doesn't happen and then you have a nest egg in savings. Well, terrible outcome. But if it does and you want to be in a position to act, you have a little bit of advance warning based on the willies. Something might be coming. What do you think, Lee?
I read an interesting article a couple of days ago that talked about when OpenAI started their process. There were from within OpenAI, there were calls based on looking at the early prototypes and some of the stuff that was coming out then, and it's gotten a lot better recently. They said, we need to put some parameters, some guidelines around the use of AI, because AI has the capability to do great things, but also great many harmful things as well. And now with Chat GPT coming out, I was shocked at how quickly it went mainstream. You start seeing articles in the New York Times, you start seeing people that are not in AI or technology or SEO type of people, just your everyday person is now playing with this and going, oh my God, it's magic, and now it's overwhelming the systems there. And I think one of the interesting things from the article is that people are saying there are going to be industries that are disrupted. I mean, in SEO, we're hearing, oh, do we need copywriters anymore? Do we need, coders anymore? Can it replace that? But history has shown that when you have these sort of disruptions, yes, there are a lot of industries that get pummeled. We don't have a lot of wagon wheel manufacturers anymore. But I think the interesting thing about it is that people have adapted and migrated to whatever the new opportunity that's created as a result of the disruptive technology. And so I'm kind of looking and thinking, all right, so where is that shift going to come? Because if you can spot it early, you can ride it and profit from it if you want to profit from it. But at least, protect yourself from, the downside. I don't think there's a single industry that won't be affected by this particular technology.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. And I already hear the fear that content writers are going to be out of work. And I don't think that's true. I think the nature of what they write will change. And so this AI still needs source material to work with. And if there's no new source material, then the information is stagnant. And so, you still need content as an input to this technology. What changes is the fluffy, vacuous content for ranking and for, being, poetic and wordsmithing. That's the stuff that kind of gets brutally murdered. The stuff that's really good that will withstand this evolution is going to be information payload. When your content anticipates the questions people are going to ask of it, and you have the information payload on the page to represent the answers to those questions that's an important thing. And so I think people are going to shift to focusing on the information payload. And so, that's how I think it's going to change. What do you think, Clint?
I think shitty writers should be afraid, because you can get shitty content out of this AI and eliminate that altogether. Good writers are always going to be in hot demand. So I think they'll be fine. Editors, this is a good opportunity for editors, and it's a good opportunity for researchers. And on top of that, it's a good opportunity to expand your skills. Like, I'm using it to learn more about Python. Like, write me a Python script that can do this. Write me a Python script to do that. So, and in our mastermind, we got a whole spreadsheet already of prompts, and we got another super nerd in there, kind of like Lee on steroids, and he's figured out prompts and all this stuff and how to get it to spit out really good content. And so he's got us, working together and using our imagination and creating new prompts and learning new questions and how to get better information out of that tool. So, I mean, to me, I think it's all good. I worry. The only thing that I worry about is the lazy crew that expect this thing to be the best thing ever, and it's going to spit out content, and we're going to create pages, and then Google's mean to me because they won't index my pages. Well, you're putting out crap. So,
well, and that's the other thing, is how does it impact SEO if people are primarily asking questions of document collections instead of visiting pages?
Yeah.
And I think there is always room for optimization. We're going to be figuring out, how to get best represented in that type of system, how to get proper coverage for all the topics that you are applicable for, and how to present a better answer than the other answers coming up on the page. Like, there will be emergent best practices, and people with an optimization mindset who have actually practiced the art of thinking are gonna totally be able to optimize for this system. So, it might change, who we optimize for. We might be optimizing less for Google's algorithm and more for an AI answering selection algorithm. But I mean, at the end of the day, we're still doing the same types of testing to figure out best practices to get desired outcomes. And it will be an art form, and people, probably will be exploiting it or wanting to hire people to help them with it, or, all of those things will probably still exist. So I think if you have been someone who thinks about optimization and how and why it works, you have very little to worry about. If you've been a blog believer and you only do what Google tells you to do, this is going to be a hard transition.
I was having a conversation with Honey a couple of days ago, and some similar to this. And one of the things I had told her is that people haven't figured out that we live in an adaptive system. The stuff that we were doing in internet marketing 10 years ago and the capabilities that we have now compared to 10 years ago look like alien technology, and it's going to keep going and accelerating that way. So, it's how quickly can you learn and adapt to, the new game, the new rules, the new technologies that are coming up. That's it. The idea that you're going to learn something and that's all you're ever going to need, is the source of your, is people's problems, going forward, I think.
Yeah, I agree. So let's see if there's any questions on this topic. Oh yeah, somebody asked ChatGPT to give a sarcastic answer about a real SEO question. And I already know, because I did the same thing. One of the limitations of the ChatGPT training set is it's brainwashed by groupthink. And so ChatGPT is a very white hat SEO that defends Google vigorously.
Yeah.
So if you want to, go ahead.
I was going to say it's not nearly as sarcastic as Clint either. I prefer Clint's sarcastic answers to ChatGPT-3 with SEO questions.
Yeah.
So if you want to pretend you're on the bandwagon, it seems like the best content to have.
Yeah. And that's the stuff that's gonna have a really hard time going forward, because every person pumping out churn and burn SEO is gonna pump out the white hat party line, and that's not gonna be good for you, because you're going to have the same 7 talking points as literally 5 million other pages. And so yeah, one of the big limitations to this technology is the content that was selected to train with has inherent bias in it. And so if you're looking for how to make backlinks work well, they're going to tell you that it's not. And if you're going to ask why are Google's answers not helpful or misleading, they're going to vigorously defend Google. And it's frustrating to a certain extent, because you want your new technologies to be fair and open about the information and representative. And it's not. It was trained with bias. So it'll be interesting to see where it goes. I think that's one of the hurdles they have to get past, because if it was trained with bias, it's going to die quickly. The web wasn't built on only let certain people, speak. That's not the idea. And the AI can't be built that way either, because the second you go down that path, nobody's gonna want it.
In their defense, they have the ability for you to make your own data set. So, I mean,
Yeah.
technically, you can go in there and scrape Black Hat World and all the Black Hat forums, and then write SEO content based off of that.
Yeah, and that's probably what we'll have to do. But they need to stop offering it for free so I can actually log in. That's the other thing. It's time to end it. You got the buzz. Nobody can even use their old stuff because you can't log into the portal half the time.
Someone was saying if you put in billing, then you don't run into those problems, or he hasn't run into those problems. So
yeah, I'm a paying customer. I can't get in.
no, okay.
Yeah, I mean, it was like that early on, but now it's just like, we can't do it. They throw up a message that says, can't do it. It says Chat GPT is at capacity right now. Get notified when we're back. And so, yeah, there's a hard limit on even just logging in with your account.
Huh. I wonder if that's use, or are they legit getting DDoSed, or is that?
Oh no, I think
they
they
accidentally
blew up.
did it because they're just popular. Like, this is
Yeah,
viral.
they got Google level traffic and they don't have Google level infrastructure.
Yeah.
They got shut down by demand.
Well, they need to go to their owners, Microsoft, and get that shit fixed.
Let's see. The thing I really like about ChatGTP is that it remembers the previous question. Could really help for creating apps for Alexa and Google Home. Yeah. I mean, it definitely has that type of vibe. I think it could be cool for website search. Like Clint mentioned, training it on your pages and then asking your website questions would be killer. And so I can't wait to play with that capability. If content is far easier to create with GPT, I can add commands and have it add entities to content and structure. Well, the thing is it's kind of like recycling, right? So we're taking information that was trained and we're recycling it into different language, but it's really the same information, just recycled. So we took the newspaper, we turned it into paper cups, and then we'll take the paper cups and we'll turn it back into newspaper. But eventually you do that enough times and the product quality goes down, right? There's only so many times you could pull that off. And the information is kind of the same way. So if nobody is adding new information to the system, then obviously the system dies at some point. Let's see. Clint, thanks for answering my question on using SEO Autopilot. Does everyone agree on using SEO Autopilot? I think there are no bad links. I think it turns out that there are links that boost and there are links that de-index, and you have to test them, but you still use them all. You just use them differently. And so links that boost are generally safe to use on important pages, but links that de-index, you generally have to go through an intermediate page, but they still pass PageRank. And so, I wouldn't say that there is a type of link that is unusable or bad. I just think you have to test your sources of links so you know what you're dealing with, and then you have to use it appropriately. What do you think, Clint?
Yeah, that's pretty much the same thing I said yesterday. Just I gave some different examples on usage, etc. So.
And he's wondering about do follows from Medium. I don't really care about do follow, no follow. I think it's a non-issue. It arguably changes the amount of authority passing, but I don't think it's even worth the test to figure out the distinction. I think at the end of the day, are you gonna say no to gains? And my answer to that is, I'm gonna take any gain I can get because it's hard enough to get. So unless you're in a place where you can afford to say no to progress, I just don't do it. But I'm also very careful. I maintain throwaway domains that I test backlink sources on. And when one of those throwaway test domains gets de-indexed by a new source of backlinks, that becomes a new tier in tiered link building. You make it topically relevant, and you use your intermediate de-index tier to pass authority. And so at that point, you have the outcome of your test, you have a new middle tier page to use, and you have to get a new throwaway domain to test new sources with. And that's kind of the rinse, lather, repeat method. And even that, to some SEOs, it's a waste of time and effort. So again, you have to look at your own margin and profitability, because if I'm guessing right, I think Clint thinks that's waste of time most of the time, right?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, even as cautious as I am, I'm probably not getting my best ROI because I'm too paranoid. Whereas, it really depends on your risk tolerance and your experience. And so Clint does a great deal more, and he's done a great deal more for a great deal longer. So his experience tells him something that my experience doesn't tell me. And that's kind of the difference. And because of that, our risk tolerances are in different places. All right.
I'm going to go at this question a little bit different direction, because when I heard it, I had a different reaction than both of you guys did. The question that I would ask is, what makes you think that do follow versus no follow matters? What data do you have that does that? And chances are you don't have any data on that, which is why you're asking the question. But you got the idea from somewhere. What data do they have that led you to believe that it mattered? Because a lot of times we take a lot of things out there for granted, and it just gets passed from person to person, and it gets repeated often enough that everybody knows that this thing is true when nobody's actually checked to see whether or not it's true. That's the horrible thing about our industry. So I would go back and look and see, where is there any data that suggests that it matters before you start asking, other people about it. Where did you get that idea, and what convinced you that it was remotely a consideration you should have?
Let's see. Got another one here. How do you find expired domains with authority? And so the key here is ultimately it comes down to a domain age question. And the domain age question is, the older, if it's older, is it better? And if it's with the registrar who is creation date, that's how people get scammed. So I've had literally hundreds of domains from the 90s that were registered but never used. I have experimented with them thoroughly. Google treats them no differently than a brand new domain. The fact that they were registered in the 90s does absolutely nothing. Now, there is an age that matters, which is how long has it been indexed as a website in Google's system. So the important age you get out of the Wayback Machine for how long has Google known about it. That age is more telling. And you can see how the domain was used and whether it was doing things that would cause it to be scorched earth, in which case it will probably never rank again. And so you want to check for that, because I've seen people buy scorched earth at auction and pay a premium for it. And so you don't want to do that, because you'll never get your money out unless you want to scam some other sucker too and continue the life cycle. And then the next thing you want to look at is, are there backlinks out in the wild still for this domain? So you can use the link operator. You can use quoted search on the URLs. You could do quoted search on the domain. There's a number of ways that if you can find enough examples out in the wild that still reference this domain, then you know it's got something to offer you. And so those are kind of the fundamentals to finding a good one. And there are some tactics that people can use to figure out which ones have had press releases done a lot to them. There are certain kinds that kind of get this treatment and then people abandon them in a hurry. And so if you can figure out the use cases for those types of behaviors, then you can really zone in on fresh ones that have lots of value, that are recently orphaned. And so you just gotta, do the unthinkable and think about it. What do you think, Clint?
Yeah, I'm with you 100%, I think.
Any thoughts on domains, Lee?
Flotsam was the new word I learned this week from John Mueller's discussion.
Say it again, Google. Say it again. The bids are going down.
Looking that up and finding that is literally from a shipwreck, referencing expired domains. I think it's now probably more valuable than ever, just because they say it.
I think they should test that. I think you should test that. And anyone not willing to test that is right where they belong, most likely. So if you're unhappy with where you're at in SEO and you're unwilling to test your beliefs and to test concepts, then you're probably going to stay right where you're at. That's kind of how that works. All right. Let's see. Regarding no bad links, what are the chances that many bad links will turn your intermediate page into a bad page? It doesn't. It gets it de-indexed from search, but de-indexed from search does not mean it's kicked out of the link graph. And so there you go. Now you know the secret. Secret's out. So yeah. At what point would you consider adding one more tier? Well, that's getting into other people's research, and I'm not going to talk on that. And the other thing to consider there is what if the worst thing happens, like all of a sudden, penalty or algorithmic demotion passes through an intermediate page, and to do reconsideration, you have to clean it up. Well, if you control the intermediate page, you can clean it up. Like, you never make a mess you can't clean up. So you you clean it up. And so if you go out there and just do tons of links from the wild direct to your homepage, that's really hard to clean up. That's very hard to clean up. But if you control the intermediate page, I mean, that's easy to clean up. Any thoughts on that?
Well, there's questions, people ask all the time about whether you should go deeper or wider. I don't think there's clear answers on that, but the question I have is, what makes you think, that your problem is that you haven't gone deeper in this particular case, adding one more tier? What's sort of the compelling data that you have that says, if I had one more, then I'd be ranking.
Is it possible to get into a local map for an online service without in-person visit? Well, every plumber I've ever had, I've never visited their headquarters, like not once in my whole life. So I would say the obvious answer is yes, it's possible to have a local business where you never visit the premises. But I think you probably have a question beyond that I'm not understanding. So
yeah,
feel
that's
free to
written weird.
Yeah. So yeah, maybe if that didn't answer it, ask it a different way. I think I skipped a couple things here. How do you write schemas for complex topics with adjectives and prepositions? Private swimming lessons for adults. How do you decide what goes into about and mentions? Well, that's an interesting one. So the first question is, are you using schemas the same way SEOs use schemas? Because I know that that word has many uses across different disciplines. And you're going into parts of speech tagging, so the prepositions and adjectives. And then about and mentions, that puts it into SEO schema. So I think that clears that up.
I know a guy that does a lot of freaking schema and even developed a schema tool that we could ask.
Well, and we also have a crazy guy that ranks pages with nothing but schema and blank content. I don't know. Should we hear from those folks?
Why not?
Jump on, Terry. Let's hear your thoughts.
They're him off.
Scared him away.
Scared him.
No, we've got the Christmas carpet cleaners here today. So matter of fact, I'm getting ready to get kicked out of my office, I think. So I don't know. My things on abouts and mentions is just that. I mean, if it has something to do with the topic of that page and the topic of the schema, obviously, then yeah, include the abouts and mentions. But you also have to be smart about it. So anything around pool, you're probably going to get a mention around chlorine. Well, if you're doing pool lessons or swimming lessons, there might be an instance where you have to tell parents about chlorine and, burning eyes and the stuff like that. But I don't think you would do that if you didn't actually mention on the page. And that's just an example. So,
okay.
And then also just if you're not using the topical relevance tool that we all use, then I think you're kind of missing the boat. It's easier to remove them than it is to try to find them.
So in historical, keeping the stuff up, Clint, you want to do the rebuttal? Because every time Terry talks about schema, you've got to give a rebuttal.
Yeah, because he's usually wrong all the time. I think to Terry's point, if let's say you're doing a surfer in links, ClearScope or whatever, and you're writing it and you want to be air quotes legit, the easiest way to handle what's abouts and mentions is to go through your entity list, and you find the ones that correlate the highest, and those go into your abouts and mentions. And because you already optimized with ClearScope, whatever, it's already in your content. So now you're good. No one can come back and say, you didn't have this in your content. Yes, I did, clown. It's right here. And then the easier way, and the way that I use, is topicalrelevance.com. You just run your keyword in there, and it goes and essentially looks at the top 10 pages and says, these are the ones that you should be using. And that one is the one I would guess that Terry ends up cleaning out. I end up doing the same, but it doesn't take very long, especially if you're always writing about that topic. You can see that list and go, yeah, this clearly shouldn't be in here. But for the most part, I would say it's about 85% accurate when on the output just on its own. But I use it about mentions for everything. So website organization, I use it FAQs now, how-to schema, Q&A schema. It makes sure that Google knows what the hell that topic is for. So I use it for everything, and I'll stack it and put in hierarchies and everything.
And since this is the last show of the year, Terry, how about you tell us a couple minutes about SEO Spring Training before you get kicked out?
Oh, okay. April 12th through the 16th is SEO Spring Training in Scottsdale, Arizona. Going to be freaking awesome. We've added a tech mastermind on the Monday afterwards, kind of like we did in Dallas. So the people, all the presenters and the VIPs that already bought a ticket are going to get that included for free. More of an add-on thing. And it's just, we're really looking forward to it. It's a little impatient waiting on information from the hotel, but I'm not a very patient person. So that's a little, something I'm trying to work on, but it is going to be great. We're going to have a VIP mastermind the day before, golf the day before. So anybody that's interested in golfing, you can fly in and golf with us. It's really exciting. It's really cool that we're getting ready to do this live again. And it's just the people that we're bringing in are just going to be awesome. So I still have a struggle on how I'm going to fit everybody into a schedule, but I'll be working with people on figuring out how we're going to do all that stuff. So, we were originally going to do 3 full days of conference, but we decided to back it off to 2 days and have the masterminds on the front and the back. That way it was a little bit less stressful, I think, and less knowledge dump, if you want to put it that way. So, but we're really looking forward to it. We got some great people coming, that's for sure.
And what URL can people go to learn more about it?
SEOspringtraining.com. And if you want to use Ted's coupon code, it's TK 2023. If you want to use Clint's, it's CB 2023. Let me see. Carol, I don't know if Carol has one. I don't know if Elizabeth did. Elizabeth has a whole list of them, so I just know those 2 I saw on the list. That'll give you a few $100 discount. And this is the time to do it for your tax write-off this year. Get your conference tickets, get your hotel rooms booked, get your plane fares, and be able to put all that on the good old tax form that you get to fill out every year.
Yep. And if you wonder what I'm going to teach people how to hide their SEO from the competition. And this is super secret knowledge. Like, this is one of SEO's most closely guarded secrets. How do you lie to all the SEO tools, but not to Google and not to your visitors? And so it's a very cool technique. There are multiple ways to do it. I am sharing my homegrown version of it, and I will teach it. And not only that, I will give you source code. So, but you have to be there to get it.
And Clint's going to MC. Bring air horns, man. We need to bring air horns to the show. I could have just done that right into the mic.
Yeah. It's
All
gonna
right,
be, and Clint gets to actually MC this one, so he doesn't even get to do a presentation except for kind of critique everybody. So,
That's awesome.
but
yeah, so it's going to be really cool. You know, I know most of the speakers. It's pretty amazing, and so I'm looking forward to it, and hope to see you guys there. It'll be my first speaking event in 2023, and I'm very thankful and appreciative that I got to speak at this conference. Was through the roof. And I didn't think I was going to be able to get in. It was something weird, like 90 people asked to present at this conference.
yeah, I think we ended up with 84 total.
Ye-
Wanted to speak, and it was actually probably most stressful thing I did all year was trying to figure out, and because a lot of people are my friends, I'm bringing a lot of people in, like Lee and Honey and everything that aren't actually going to be able to speak, but they're going to be wearing a certain color shirt and they're going to be called Ask Me Anything. So you can go up and tap their shoulder and do all kinds of stuff. So I am bringing people in that, I want to put on stage. I just didn't have the freaking room. But they're still going to be there to help people. They're still going to be there to, assist in the process of the conference environment, so to speak. So.
Yeah, and I think it's having this effect that the speakers realize the magnitude of being part of this event, and so we're trying to bring the value because it's a big deal. This is a growing event, and I think you're probably going to have to start doing 2 a year.
Yeah, we're definitely talking about doing some different things because we're also doing the masterminds, which the masterminds are awesome. But they fill up so quick. So when you only do 30 people and they fill up in, a week, and a lot of times the same people come to the same masterminds, which is awesome, but it doesn't leave a lot of room for kind of new people to come to it. So yeah, we're thinking about a bunch of different options, but it's always been one of my passions to put on events and teach people and help people and provide value to people, compared to, we've all been to conferences that we just walk away going, what the hell did I just come to this conference for? And so we just wanted to make sure that, we put on a great event. Dory's last month or month and a half ago was incredible. So, she kind of set the bar for me this time, and Elizabeth. So, what Clint and everybody put on there in Dallas was just great. Now we're just going to try to see if we can match it and continue to grow this thing. So I think the first time we did it, we had 37, and then we flipped digital thanks to COVID, and we had 790 people come through the digital side. And then this will be our actual live one again. So last year I was just gun shy. I was scared to death. This is a lot of outlay, obviously, doing the bigger events. So when you don't, when something like COVID happens and you can't put on your event and it takes months to get your money back from the hotel, it kind of makes you gun shy the next year. So.
Yeah. And can people buy the videos?
We're not going to record it as of right now. We're not going to record it, but I am getting a bunch of responses especially from the speakers. The speakers want me to record it, especially for their portion of it. So that's still up in the air, but as of right now, that's no pitch, no recordings. And then obviously, if we do decide to record it, it'll be up to the speaker individually if it is recorded. Because obviously not a lot of people. I don't like personally recording stuff. I think people will share more if it's not recorded. And I just think that's the gold of these things, is getting the stuff that they normally wouldn't share.
I'm gonna make Clint happy. My topic can't be recorded. Sorry, people. And the other thing about my topic is I am literally going to talk about it this once, is proof that the things I'm talking about are real. It's my social proof event. And then after that, I'm never talking about it again.
Well, I appreciate the time to talk about it. Like I said, it is. We're really looking forward to it. Oh, he's outside my door, so I probably got to run. So anyways,
right.
You guys all have a Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Happy New Year.
Reach out to me if you guys need any help with anything, and I will talk to you all soon.
Great. Will do.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
We will do a few more questions here. We got a last 10 minutes. Let's see what we can get in here. Ted, where do you start searching for suppliers for e-commerce stores? I want to transition my affiliate sites to e-commerce. Product buying is an art form. It's not as simple as get cheap shit and try to flip it online. You have to find something that people want to buy. And so that's kind of the trick. And so when I got started, I wanted to specialize in something that is small and easy to ship. I wanted to do padded envelopes, not big cardboard boxes, because you have to think about the workflow of fulfillment. And so if I could keep the shipping costs really low and the packing material cost really low, and I can get the unit cost on the products really low, then I could replace an order 2 or 3 times and still make profit. And so that's kind of how I work out the spreadsheets. The awesome thing about ecom is you can work this all out in Excel. You can figure out all the costs, all the shipping costs, all the tariffs at customs. You can think about your bads rate for how many you'll break in transit. You can think about the returns. You can think about fraud. You can account for all of it in your spreadsheet and know if you're going to make or lose money. All your materials, your shelf space, your pick bins, everything, you can map it all out before you ever spend $1. And you totally should. And that going through that exercise will tell you what your startup costs are and what you have to do to become profitable. And so when I made an online jewelry store out of my basement, I had 4 shelves from Home Depot that contained about 75 SKUs of lampwork glass. And so I went to Panda Hall to do it, because typically the lampwork glass is really cool, especially the dichroic designs. And so the photography on the dichroic lampwork pendants is very compelling. And for some reason, grandparents love buying them for grandchildren. So I was largely dealing with grandparents. And so I would buy it a quarter and sell for $20 with free shipping in the US. And it worked fantastic. My startup cost was about $2,000. I was easily profitable. But there's this other thing. Even though I was profitable and the experiment was successful and made money, I wasn't making my best money, because there's also this portion of what you're trying to do that needs volume. So I wasn't getting the volume to make my best money. I still made my best money in services and SEO. And so what you might find is that you make your best money doing other things. Now, running an online retailer while you're doing a day job can work out. I found the workflow was awesome and really cool. I would pack up orders in the evening when I got home from my day job, and I would drop them off at the post office on my way into work. And so I had a next business day fulfillment cycle that I was always great about. And if ever somebody had a problem with the order was missing or damaged, the very first thing I would always reply to them was the tracking code on their replacement order, because I could replace the order 3 times and still make money because I worked out all the math in advance. And what you'll find with retail is everything is like that. That really expensive $500 handbag at Nordstrom's, they source it from China for $26. And so as a result, I almost never pay full retail for anything. I know the margins on nearly all that stuff from my experience, and you're crazy if you pay full retail. It's just not worth it to spend your money that way. But yeah, find something that's cool. If I had to get back into being a jewelry retailer, I'll tell you the niche I'd go into. The Maori jade pendants. The photography on those things is amazing. Like, they are so damn cool. Every time I see that product photography, I want to get into that niche. The problem with Maori jade pendants is finding providers who can reliably deliver inventory. So if you can find the people who can provide the units, I think that's a killer niche, and photography sells in online retail. Any other thoughts on retail?
That was pretty detailed. The only thing I add is I saw a guy, he was doing wholesaling. So you obviously have to have money for this. So, but you go and say Fuji water, that's an example. He would go to Fuji water and buy in bulk from them at wholesale, have it delivered directly to Amazon, and they took care of all the rest of that stuff that you talked about. So all you got to do is just facilitate getting it and then having it sent to the Amazon warehouse, and then upsell it as you see fit. I mean, that's an FBA model. I know a buddy of mine that was doing that, and then he also had his own custom made food service bowls made, and he said he'd never do that again because it was just the manufacturing was kind of a pain in the ass, and et cetera. But that's also a route, and it was easy for him. It was actually cheaper to do the whole development thing because he just contacted a company in China, told them what he wanted. They made it. He sent it. They did some approval stuff and then made it in bulk. And there you go. He sold it.
Yeah. The one issue that people tend to not anticipate about sourcing out of China is you have to plan your inventory needs 6 months in advance. So you're not going to get your bulk rate inventory quickly. And if you run out, it's going to take you months to get more back on the shelf. So you got to kind of anticipate demand. And so that's always the tricky part. And sometimes things get held up at the ports. And so you could get unexpected delays.
Yeah.
And there is a nightmare scenario where you pick products that are in a regulated classification of goods. And if the U.S. has received their quota on that classified type of goods, and your stuff is on a cargo ship trying to get in, they will give you two choices. You can pay to have it sent back to where it came from and warehoused and shipped back out to you at your expense, or they can dump it in the ocean. And so, that's the big hazard, is you have to figure out if what you're bringing in, and apparel is one of those, if you hit import quotas from certain countries, you could end up having your product paid for and dumped in the ocean. So be mindful of the regulations on your category of goods. All right. I'm wondering how much can you accomplish with just GSA, PBN, and similar techniques without white hat links? You probably can't rank for yoga pants. What's the ceiling? Well, I do think you can rank for yoga pants. It just wasn't worth it. So it's a matter of how much you want to invest time and resource wise. And I could rank 20 other similar keywords with the same time and resources. So it wasn't a matter of it can't be done. It was a matter of I'd rather get 20x than 1x on the time I put into it. I couldn't justify it to my commissions that were going in my pocket. And so I had to pull the plug on it because it was going to be one that I couldn't do efficiently. What do you think, Clint?
I'd counter that as your yoga pants, white hat links, you'd never rank ever. You'd go broke trying to rank getting white hat links. First off, there's no such thing as white
What's
hat.
white hat link? Yeah, that's where I was going with it.
The only way you're going to get white hat links is getting Kim Kardashian to wear your yoga pants and then talk about it on her social channels. And then you'll get white hat links that way, right? People will naturally build links to your yoga pants because Kim Kardashian is wearing them. And think of the odds of you being able to secure that deal. That's it's just not going to happen. So with GSA, PBNs are nothing but sites that you own or a whole bunch of sites that someone else's own that's linking to you. All that stuff, all those work. I was ranking supplements, weight loss supplements, and bodybuilding supplements with GSA alone. So you don't need white hat links, and they're just way harder to get. There's more work. They cost more money, and it's cheaper to build your own PBN or network with other people that have PBNs than it is to try to do outreach and get influencers and all that madness for one backlink. I know a guy that was working on one backlink. It took him 2 years to secure that one backlink. And it barely moved the page, but he wanted it because it was a famous influencer and he thought it would be awesome. 2 years of work for nothing. It seems stupid to me.
And just remember, every rung of the page rank ladder, you need 10 times as many backlinks at less than half the cost. And so by page rank 5 or 6, they're damn near free.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you can't scale. You need to have a link building budget in the tens of millions of dollars. And that's just not realistic for any company. So if your links aren't progressively getting cheaper and easier to acquire, your plan is wrong. All right. Let's see. Did I miss anything? Let's see. There's a happy holidays. Thanks for sharing. There's a night start with Alibaba, but yeah, the art is in picking what's going to sell. So you can pick lots of cheap stuff that doesn't sell. Don't do that.
I don't know. It's Survival Life. You guys know them, digital marketer. That was one of their partner sites. And they did the Alibaba cheap stuff. So they bought this little gizmo knife, kind of like a knockoff Leatherman tool. And
cheap stuff that sells is different than cheap stuff that doesn't sell.
Yeah. The Alibaba stuff, I mean, to me, that works great. It just had a pop up and it says, you want a free knife, pay for shipping and handling. And they made an ass ton of money.
Yeah.
Paying for shipping and handling.
And that's the scam. It's, the knife is free, but you pay a premium on the handling.
That's not a scam.
It's a little bit of a scam. In retail, we okay, yeah, we know that one. Yeah, you can do that. You can have, get a knife for free. You can do the buy one get one scams. There's a number of things.
Oh, come on, Ted. You can't tell me
it's not a scam. Come on.
It's a little bit.
Free shipping is baked into the product price, man. It's it's the same scam in the other direction.
Yeah, wait till you see the shipping and handling.
But wait, there's more.
and let me guess, that shipping cost isn't the postage plus packaging. There's a little something extra in it too. Yeah, you know how it works, and it's a great line. It converts. It does convert. It makes money. If you're starting out, that's a good way to get units moved. And if it's cheap enough, no one cares because, the idea of getting a $10 knife with free shipping versus a free knife with $10 shipping, you A/B test that and you figure out which one converts best with your audience. It's the same price, technically.
The free knife. Yeah.
The
free knife.
But yeah, really, you're just seeing what speaks better to an audience. And that's probably where Lee could come in, is with those types of CRO testing ideas.
Yeah.
There's a whole lesson to be learned while watching the infomercials, those bulb head info commercials. There's a whole thing.
Hey now.
Those are awesome.
That's true. The one you want to stay away from is the $5 knife with the $5 shipping. You know, nobody likes that. You got to go to.
Yep. Exactly. All right. So we're over the hour. I want to thank everyone for a great year. This was an amazing year, and all the support. I want to remind everyone to check out SEO this week. And Clint, are there any announcements for SIA and SEO this week?
No, this last week, all we talked about yesterday was the update. We went over top SEO factors and the changes from November 15th to December 15th, what was shown in that. And then we did a bunch of Q&A stuff, so I'm sure there's something in there for you.
Yep. And are you going to be running the show while we're closed down for the holiday? So
yeah, otherwise my Monday will just be ruined. That's the only thing I enjoy about Mondays.
Nice. So if you need an SEO fix, now's a great time to check out SEO this week, because we're going to be offline. So you should get your SEO and your Clint fix over at SEO this week on Mondays. And if you're in SIA, you get to hop on and ask questions. And if you're not, you see the replay or you watch live on YouTube? How does that work?
If you're in SIA, I do an after show so that people can ask their own questions without having to worry about it being on YouTube and stuff.
Oh, okay. But you answer YouTube questions for the live portion?
Yeah.
There you go, folks. So yeah, check it out. It's very cool. It's oftentimes very tactical. So if you want to learn secrets of how to do shit, Clint is famous for tactical wisdom. So I would definitely encourage you to use the Fight Club downtime as SEO this week uptime. So with that, Happy New Year's. Be safe, everyone, and we'll see you in January.